Welcome back to Arsenal Report, and today we've got Real Madrid in the second leg of the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and as I've been saying, I'm not worried in the slightest about this Real Madrid matchup, but they seem to be thinking they're getting in the heads of Arsenal players, Arsenal fans, and the entirety of the Real Madrid club and fan base with all of the nonsense that Carlo Ancelotti is talking about, Jude Bellingham is talking about closing the stadium. The fans are going to be more excited than ever. Ancelotti gave like a 15-minute team talk. We're not getting the Real Madrid lineup 24 hours in advance like we always seem to get in these Champions League matches. They are trying to pull off every bit of voodoo magic that Real Madrid has left in store. It's crazy that they could have anything left in store after all the voodoo magic they have pulled. Even just this year, the Atletico Madrid penalty that it hit 2 feet, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. None of that's going to save them from the fact that Arsenal is going to trounce them yet again in the Champions League in the second leg of this quarterfinal. That is a guarantee. But it is funny to see, I feel like Arsenal, we have a little bit of main character syndrome when it comes to some of this, but they are seemingly getting more up for this than I've seen them get for any Champions League match. And this is a team that won last year. They've won 6 of the past, 11 Champions Leagues, 6 of the last 10 Champions Leagues. I mean, yes, every year is a different year and every year is huge. And it's Mbappe's first chance at a Champions League. Bellingham obviously won one last year, but just, a little bit of a new nucleus to the squad over the last couple of years from the ones that won so many. But to see them try and get up for this is really funny. And I think they're getting a little bit too excited. I think they're going to come out in the first 10 minutes, balls to the wall, see if they can get an early goal. And yes, that could change the entirety of the complexion, but I think they could run out of gas quickly. And you might see Arsenal actually walk away with a result in the second leg and easily going through to the next round. And after today, we know that Arsenal will be playing PSG. And many of you may be surprised to hear this, but that was my hope, is that we would get PSG. I don't think PSG is an easy walkthrough like they used to be in the past. I don't think they're anything like the team that we played in the Champions League already this year, earlier in the year. I think they're a much better team. Obviously, Barcola has reached new levels. Dembele has reached new levels. Desiree Doué has reached new levels. They have Kvara right now. Obviously, all of that 100% stands. But they're not going to play a nasty mid-block the way that Aston Villa does and scores out on the break. They're not going to have the amount of energy that Aston Villa had at home behind them tonight in what was an incredible match that Villa should have come out on top of over the 2 legs. PSG is going to do their thing. They're going to try and play methodically. They're going to try and beat us on the break. But they're also going to try and play with us. And any team that tries and plays with us for 90 minutes, for 180 minutes over 2 legs, is going to lose. If you're not willing to sit deep and defend against us, you will lose against us 9 times out of 10. And that's why I will stand by this statement. Inter Milan is the only team left in the Champions League that can beat us. We will play Inter Milan in the final, and if we don't, we will win the final. Inter Milan is the only team left that can beat Arsenal in the Champions League right now. That is just my honest-to-God opinion. I think if Bayern Munich, Vincent Kompany tries and play with us, not a chance. Barcelona, they try and play with us, not a chance. Yes, any given match, you can lose any given match, but if Arsenal play their game, if Arsenal play a good match, none of those teams can beat them. Whereas Inter Milan can quickly disrupt us, as we saw already in this Champions League this season. It's a very well-drilled team and a team that loves to get on the break and score goals. They're relentless in terms of finishing goals when they have the opportunities. And I don't think PSG is. We've seen it with PSG in the last 2 legs of this very tournament as well. Even against Aston Villa here, they should have put them away in the first leg. Second leg early, they were up, but they kept letting teams back in. And Arsenal will not give up against PSG, and they will win over the 2 legs. No question about it. On to the transfer side of things. It does seem every day we get closer and closer to an official signing of Martin Zubimendi. Obviously, that won't happen until June, but as many of you know, from June 1 to June 10, the transfer window will be open before the Club World Cup, and I think Martin Zubimendi will be done deal in that area of the transfer window. Signed, delivered, I'm yours, part of that Arsenal midfield for the future, because Partey and Jorginho, after the Champions League final on May 31st, they're no longer going to be under contract at Arsenal, and they're no longer going to be Arsenal players. That's 2 sixes. So there's no doubt we're bringing one in. Zubimendi gets done early. It allows us to go out and do other business that is much more needed in the attacking. But don't forget, we do need a midfielder, and Zubimendi's the perfect fit. He's 26 years old. He's played with Mikel Merino. He's Spanish, where we found a lot of success in the market. And he's only on like $50K a week wages. That's nothing. Yes, obviously he's going to come to the Premier League and get put on 100, 150. But we're signing players who are not looking for 300, 400K wages. Yes, sometimes you have to do that. Kai Havertz, massive wages that he's on. If we go get, if somehow we get Isak or we get Nico Williams, those players demand to be highly paid because of where they already are. But Zubimendi at £50,000 a week, that is the easiest no-brainer deal that you could do. He's got a release clause. It's done. It's not an overly complicated deal to get done. And it's the perfect player to sit in along Declan Rice. Can play in a pivot with Rice. He can play when Rice is out. Rice can play as a 6. Zubimendi can be out. Zubimendi can play at the base in the midfield with like Ethan and potentially Max in the future, or with Ethan and Odegaard. There's so many different ways for Zubimendi to fit into this team as that controlling type who we desperately do need if Jorginho's leaving. Jorginho's looked way off of it this year, but for the last 18 months before that, Jorginho has put in some excellent performances for us as a controller in matches where we've needed a player like that. And Martin Zubimendi is the perfect profile, that perfect age profile, perfect price, perfect wages. It's not one to overthink. This is the kind of smart business that Arsenal was doing for a few years before maybe the last 2 transfer windows where it hasn't gone great. That kind of really intelligent business is the way that we get this going forward. And it's the same thing like Ben White. Everyone thought we overpaid for Ben White. Ben White was on small wages, proven player, perfectly fit the bill, versatility, all the right things to be a great squad player. And then you go out and get Jurriën Timber and a Calafiori, more luxury type players, but you need the nucleus of the squad. And Martin Zubimendi is a part of that new nucleus. And that brings us to a big question mark for this transfer window, which is obviously the striker position and the continued link with Viktor Gyokeres. And listen, I from my sources, I have a few sources both in the club and actually a friend of mine who is at Sporting Lisbon and has some good inside scoop there. There's no doubt that these links are now official. Like, they are very real. They were not real 12 months ago. They were not real 18 months ago when we thought Gyokeres might come last January, last summer, this January. None of that was real. But when Andrea Berta came in, he is adored with this player. He has made contact with Sporting Lisbon's camp. He has made contact with Gyokeres' camp. There are talks happening. And listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Viktor Gyokeres. I don't think he is the game-changing talent that will make Arsenal Premier League favorites. He's not, in my opinion. Yeah, he has 31 goals this year in the league. I think he had 50 in all comps last year. He's 26 years old. Another player who's only on like 50K a week wages, maybe a little bit less. That part of the deal is great. And it seems like we can get him for, he was going for 100 last summer. It looks like it'll be closer to 60 this summer. I like it conceptually when you look at all those things. But would you rather spend £60 million on Viktor Gyokeres or go out and get an absolute game changer for 100? And I think it's no-brainer. It's not my money. It's not our money. Go spend the 100 million and get someone who's going to change the complexion of this club. I think Gyokeres adds a lot for us on transition. He's a transitional monster. He loves to get that ball in the half spaces with a man on his back, turn on him and go. I love his ability to play and hold up play, link up. He's a more technical Kai Havertz in a lot of ways. But I'm not sure he totally fits the bill of what this Arsenal team needs. Now, do I think Viktor Gyokeres will be an Arsenal player come next season? I do not. I believe that he is a backup option, and that's why we're making contact, because it's good to have contact with players who are going to be on the market. But I don't think he will be our first or second option that come this summer. I think Sesko's ahead of him. I think Isak's ahead of him. And I think there may be some other contenders that show up over the next few months that surprise us. Ekitike, potentially Mateus Cunha, potentially. Not that I like these players better, but players that I think are rated higher by the club than Gyokeres. But nonetheless, he's certainly one to keep an eye on. Big match for Arsenal today against Real Madrid. We will take them down. Thanks for watching Arsenal Report. Make sure to subscribe. Give us a like. Let me know what you want me to talk about here on Arsenal Report, transfer rumors, whatever it might be. And thanks for watching.